Hello and welcome to the PTOC podcast. Today we have with us Dr. Neeraj Bijlani sir. So welcome sir to the podcast.
Thank you.
What is the first thing that comes to your mind when you listen to the word precision in trauma surgery?
Basically, it means that need to learn, come here and learn how to improve my techniques and improve the patient reported outcomes by making my trauma surgery as accurate as possible, near anatomy.
Yes. You along with Dr. Ashok Shyam sir, you both started Ortho TV some years back, and personally for me it has been of a huge help. So what was the idea behind it, and how did you go about it?
So in 2014, for the first time in Vairok, I was taking a talk on social media. And at the same time, Dr. Ashok Sham was also taking a talk in another hall on research. And Ashok came to me later on and asked me, is your talk recorded? Because it was the first time some social media talk was being delivered. So I said, no, it's not recorded, but I wanted to hear it. So with that, the Ashok came out with the idea that we should record conferences, because in multiple halls, especially like now we are having 7 halls, 8 halls running together, multiple halls, it's impossible for anyone to attend everything together and they will always miss something. As they say, kuch na kuch to reh jayega. So in that way, with that idea came that we should record the conferences and put it on a website. And with that, the idea came that we will put it on something called as Ortho TV, because he wanted to make it like a television channel. And so and that is what it was. Actually, the first conference which was recorded and put on Ortho TV was way back more than 10 years. That was POSICON 2012, which was organized by Dr. Sandeep Patwardhan. And he gave Ashok the recordings and then he put it up online. And eventually, as the technology improved, we kept on putting website on YouTube channels and on Ortho TV website. But as the technology improved, for the first time, in 2017, after the geo effect, I call it the geo effect, we could do a live relay of the full conference, Vairok 2017, where I was the organizing secretary, and worldwide people could watch it for free. Initially, we kept it completely free, and it was a very big hit. And then somewhere in 2018, we learned, you will not believe, we learned Zoom. And we were doing webinars. We were calling it night webinars. After dinner, we used to sit down and talk around for 30 minutes. And that was a
Right,
webinar.
sir.
So we had already started doing webinar before the lockdown hit. And then after the lockdown came the real effect that everybody was
Yeah.
sitting at home. And education was becoming online. It was acceptable form of education. And that it has now become an household name in orthopedic fraternity, Ortho TV, is that if you want to look up anything, go to Ortho TV and see.
Yes, sir, it definitely is of much help. And now Ortho TV has also gone global. So, sir, what do you think is India's position right now in terms of trauma care globally?
So I still feel that the number of cases and the number of orthopedic surgeons in India is huge. Like just Dr. Brad told in the morning that in whole of Canada there are 1600 orthopedic surgeons. And today in Pune JW Marriott there are more than 1600 orthopedic surgeons. We have got more than 1600 registrations. So you can imagine that basically we are much more ahead in trauma, in innovation. The only place where we have lagged behind is research and basically publishing. People are doing such great work, like even Dr. Warid Altaf showed basically that with the help of a needle, he's improvised the technique of percutaneous scaphoid surgery. Such a simple, small technique. And though he has published it, but many of us have these small techniques, which I call Jugaad, Indian Jugaad.
Right.
They can be published very easily. We have a journal called JOCR, Journal of Orthopedic Case Reports, where these case reports are being published. But I think there is more number of research which is needed from here. And the number of cases which happen in our day-to-day in India is unmatchable compared to any other country in the world.
Sir, in today's digital world, how important it is to read books or journals or case reports?
So in today's digital world, you don't need to read physical books, but definitely you need to read journal articles. But after the Ortho AI coming in, so Ortho AI is basically summarizing you for everything. So if you are not able to read, if you're not, so you have multiple options. Like in earlier days when I was studying, there was only one option, that we had to get a physical access or very difficult online access and then read. Now, physical access you don't need. You need online access. It can be, if you like to read, then there are articles. If you like to summarize, then there is AI. If you like to see videos, there is Ortho TV. So there are multiple options for a person to learn. So there are too many options, but that means we are also spoiled for options. So we can sometimes get distracted. So what my suggestion to the young generation who wants to study is that first stop your notifications, keep your phone on silent mode, and do not study on the phone. Phone is only for maybe referring, but mainly you do all your studies on your laptop or the big device or the iPad.
So, don't you think there is a danger or a risk of students getting too much reliant on AI?
So AI is here and it is here to stay. So like when we were studying, they were basically too much reliant. People were saying that there is maybe too much reliance on Google. But can you reach anywhere today without Google Maps? So there are restaurants and businesses, because of Google Maps, you are able to reach there. There are companies like Uber. If there were no Google Maps, Uber was non-existent today. Something similar is AI, what is doing to today's generation, is that AI is going to give new opportunities of learning, new ways of learning. So a doctor will never be, my favorite sentence is that a doctor will not be replaced by AI, but a doctor not using AI will definitely be replaced by a doctor who uses AI. So AI is here to stay. You should use it, embrace it, and learn from it. Don't totally be dependent on it, but at least you have to use it on a day-to-day basis.
Great word, sir. So, one case of yours that went wrong and you learned from it.
So in today only I can say that Pune Trauma Course. So basically we were doing the dorsal approach to the distal radius. I have not done many. It was one of the few ones which we have done, and it was we were I think doing it after 1 year. And my assistant was very confident. He was also orthopedic surgeon. He was very confident, and that we will isolate the EPL. And while cutting the extensor retinaculum, instead of putting the first the artery and then basically separating it and then using the knife, he used the scissor directly, and the EPL got cut. And then today only I realized that in the hand session of surgical school, that was my first question, how frequently? So they said that all of them who have done the dorsal approach have cut EPL at least once. So it is not something which is it is something which we have done it for the first time. But it is something which can happen to anyone. The more important is that what I learned is that right precision. So I have to improve my precision by learning here, and I learned a lot.
So, what advice would you give to your younger self, like say 20, 25 years back?
So maybe do not start your private practice early. I could have done maybe a 1 or 2 years of more training, or maybe at least 1 year of more training. So if you feel that you are very confident, I think you should train for 1 more year and then become super confident, and only then start private practice. Don't jump into private practice very early. That is one. Second is, I was very lucky at that time. Super specialization was not so much in my generation. It came out much later. So don't directly, when you join MS orthopedics, don't directly try to become an arthroplasty surgeon. You first become a general orthopedic surgeon. You learn how to treat a ganglion. You learn how to treat a decurvence. You learn how to manage back pain. You learn how to fix a distal radius fracture. Only then you think about basically going ahead and doing arthroplasty, spine, or arthroscopy. You still have to learn all these things before you go there. Because in private practice, 90% of the patients who walk into your OPD do not need any surgery.
And so, for the message for a young orthopedic surgeon, when should he decide to operate and when he should decide to refer patients? What will be the criteria?
So there are, in India, there are sorry. In India, we have good ways to do it. We have now ease of access of WhatsApp. So build your network. During your residency, build your network. Try to build your group practice. In case you say, why should I refer? So build a group practice. Maybe 3 orthopedic specialists. One could be a trauma or an arthroplasty surgeon. One could be arthroscopy. And third one could be a spine. All 3 of you can join in together, join hands, start a group practice. And then you can refer internally. But if you are, the best thing to do is that there is a 80-20 rule, which was told to me by Dr. Shiv Shankar many years back, that 80% of your income will be coming only from 20% of your patients. So don't take stress. So refer those 20% of the patients whom you feel that this is too tough, it is difficult, it is too much out of your comfort zone. You can maybe, something you can read about is called the flow channel. You can be in the flow, that you should not do anything which is completely mundane, but at the same time, if it is giving you too much stress, that also you should not do. So try to grow in the flow channel. That is what you should learn.
Yes. So, what is your biggest fear in life?
Unable to complete the surgery. Any orthopedic surgeon is that I am unable to complete the surgery which I started. So the other day I was trying to do a tibia simple surgery, tibia interlock nail removal, which was only 3 years old. But the thing is that when I had inserted that nail, after doing the whole locking, I realized that the nail is a little short. Short means I had to bury the nail inside the proximal tibia. And I thought that the patient will not come because it will not hurt her, but the patient was young patient. And she told now, after 3 years, she told that I want to remove it. So I told you will have to create a hole in the bone and osteotomize or something like that. No, I want to remove it. It's hurting me inside. Though it was hurting, not hurting, we don't know, but it was hurting me inside. I want to remove it. And then we removed the screws, and then we had ordered all sorts of instruments. I have implant removal sets at my disposal, unlimited. I have got 2 different implant removal sets. I have got broken screw removal sets, everything I have with so many years of collection of instruments. I had everything on the table. So after removing everything, after doing the osteotomy at the proximal screw site, I was unable to remove the nail. So I thought now we'll have to leave it. But I always remember there was one more orthopedic surgeon with me, my partner in practice, and I gave up, but he said, no, aisa kaise, we will not give up. We will keep on trying till we are finished with it. So I had 20 bolts, and on the 15th bolt, finally the nail got hit. Finally it engaged, and we were able to remove it. It took 2.5 hours, but it was worth it. So the biggest fear at that time was that I will be unable to complete the surgery, and I will have to go out and tell the patient that I was unable to complete it, and the nail is still inside. The reason he or she came to me, I could not complete it. So that is my biggest fear.
So nowadays we see there is a huge risk of burnout. So how to deal with all the stress that comes with the job and how to unwind?
So the best thing to unwind is, first thing is that define your work hours. So you can, in the initial phase, maybe you can work till 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. But eventually, as you become married, as you have children, you should now give more time to family. If you can spend more time to family, only then you can reduce the burnout. And second is that create alternative sources of income. So for that, you will have to attend my talk on the psychology of money, which is there tomorrow in PTOC, and that will help you a lot.
Yes, so that is very wonderful talk. And so one final question, PTOC is completing 20 years this year. So one word for PTOC over the years and one word for Dr. Parag Sancheti, sir.
So Dr. Parag Sancheti is a big visionary orthopedic surgeon. I have not met such a person in a long time. I have got close to him in the last 6-7 years since we've started Ortho TV with a bang. And he has been really helpful and monumental in promoting Ortho TV and Ortho AI and supporting us in whatever way with his so much busy schedule also. So always remember, having a teacher like him is a very big blessing in disguise, to have a visionary person like him who can see what basically we are building and basically support us. And for PTOC, I wish all the best. This is only the 20th year, and hopefully the next generation after, we may continue for maybe 5 or 10 years, but somebody from the next generation will have to take over eventually, and we are hoping that it goes on till 50 and 100 years, and this basically becomes like the National Trauma Course where everybody looks forward to attending it.
Definitely, sir. Thank you for your kind words and thank you for Ortho TV. It has been a huge boon and a huge help to all of us. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Yeah. Thank you.
And thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you. Bye-bye.